Round 9 of the Stannic Touring Car Series of the Gestetner National at AA Kyalami on June 11 provided for controversy on and off the track. Series leader Mike Briggs was excluded from the results by clerk of the course Graham Ewer after a coming together with race leader Nick Duval. The incident saw Grant McCleary come through to take the checkered flag. Oval Racing protested against Ewer's decision to exclude Briggs from the results, but this was rejected by the stewards of the meeting, who also fined Briggs £1,000. In round 12, McCleary made it a double, and in the overall results for the day, finished ahead of Dion Joubert in the BMW Enviro car and young Anthony Taylor in the Roger Taylor Racing BMW. Two of the brightest young stars on the South African motorsport horizon are making their presence felt in the Stannic Series. Anthony Taylor was in among the factory-backed cars in only his second touring car outing. University student Marco dos Santos has also impressed veteran motorsport experts in the privately entered Lakefield BMW. There looks to be a golden future for the two youngsters. Motor racing history was made at Kyalami on June 11 when BMW became the first manufacturer to race environmentally friendly cars. The Johnson Matthey BMWs are fitted with catalytic converter exhaust systems and run on unleaded fuel. Stannic presents highlights of rounds 11 and 12 of the Stannic Sack Car Series from East London. Stannic Sack Car, the formula of the future. It was back to the coast for Stannic touring car teams for rounds 11 and 12 of the series. The venue was the famous East London Grand Prix circuit, which has roots dating back to the 1930s. The city of East London is a blend of the old and the new, and has strong motorsport links. The historic East London Grand Prix circuit, a stone's throw from the Indian Ocean, was the home of the South African Grand Prix before the advent of Kyalami. Despite his problems at AA Kyalami, Mike Briggs went to East London with a healthy points lead over BMW pair Sean van der Linde and Dion Joubert and teammate Grant McCleary. Missing from East London was Klerksdorp privateer Farouk Dangor, who was suffering from a severe bout of bronchitis. Volkswagen were forced to withdraw their Engine VW Jetters because engines on order from Germany did not arrive in time. Minolta Toyota Works drivers Serge Damso and Mike White have been able to draw on the experience of Briton Dave Cook in shaking down the new Toyota Camry. The big question when qualifying got underway on the Friday was whether or not the BP Nissan Sentra team could make it 3 pole positions in a row. The surprise of the session was Serge Damso in the Minolta Toyota Camry. In only the car's third outing, Damso set a scorching early pace.
The team and myself are very happy. We're getting the things together, and the car was fairly well set up and suits the fast tracks, and that we're a little bit slower out of the tight corners, but we'll work on that, and I'm sure in the future the car will be there.
As usual, life in the pit lane kept team technicians on the hop. Young Marco dos Santos in the privately entered Lakefield BMW has impressed with the ease in which he has adapted to touring cars. Dos Santos is a front-runner in the Formula GTI Single-Seater Championship and was going well in qualifying before blotting his copybook with a spin. It's an occupational hazard for race drivers. Team managers and technicians spend much of the qualifying session glued to timing monitors, keeping track of their charges and a wary eye on the opposition. The Opel Racing team has been a major force in the Stannic Touring Car Series since its inception. Factory driver Mike Briggs is the current touring car champion and again leads the points table. Although Briggs again leads the Drivers' Championship this year, life at the top is becoming a bit uncomfortable for Briggs and teammate Grant McCleary. Other teams have closed the gap on the Opel Astras, and pressure is mounting on drivers and technicians alike. Official qualifying was a frustration for Anthony Taylor. Problems in practice saw him grounded, relegating him to the back of the grid.
Unfortunately, the piece of the flywheel broke off in the session before, so we couldn't quite get everything together before official.
After a disappointing performance in rounds 9 and 10, Sean van der Linde was keen to get back into the groove in the Johnson Matthey BMW Envirocar. Lying second in the Drivers' Championship, young van der Linde needed a rich haul of points. Kyle Army winner Grant McCleary in the PG Autoglass Opel Astra was in much the same boat as his BMW rival. The Kyle Army outing gave McCleary his first taste of touring car victory. After a slow start to the season, talented Dion Joubert in the second Johnson Matthey BMW has started to reproduce his best form. But once again, it was the BP Nissan team that stole the qualifying show. Factory driver Nick Duval went out late in the session in the BP Nissan Sentra, and right from the start, it was clear he had his sights set on pole position. With Duval obviously pushing himself and the car to the limit, there were anxious looks in rival pits and smiles in the Nissan camp when it was a case of mission accomplished. Duval's late charge saw him push Serge Damso off pole position, and there was plenty of disappointment in Minolta Toyota circles.
We've done a lot of work to try and get the car set up as good as possible. We had our fair share of problems. We had to change the engine yesterday, but the car was good, and I managed to focus my attention for that one lap, and it paid off.
3 pole positions in a row for the BP Nissan team, with Serge Damso and the Minolta Camry starting to show their potential. Mike Briggs was third quickest in the Opel Racing Astra, with alongside him on the second row, Sean van der Linde in the Johnson Matthey BMW Envirocar. They were followed by Grant McCleary in the PG Autoglass Astra and Dion Joubert in the second factory BMW. The fourth row of the grid was shared by Hannes Robler in the second BP Nissan and Marco dos Santos in the Lakefield BMW. Privateer Jess Huggett put the Class B VW Jetta in 9th position, with the unfortunate Anthony Taylor having to start at the back of the grid. The Drivers' Parade is a popular feature for the crowd at Stannic touring car events. The fans got a close-up view of their favourites minus helmets. And for the drivers, it was the last opportunity to relax before getting down to business on the East London GP circuit, with the Potters Pass and Rifle Range Bend sections, 2 of the most frightening stretches of track in South African motorsport. The adrenaline is starting to pump for the drivers as they go out on their warm-up lap. Conditions are pretty good, but they'll want to generate as much heat as they can into those slick racing tyres. It doesn't take long for the tyres to heat up to their optimum operating temperature, and weaving around on the circuit is helping heat up the rubber. Dion Joubert will be looking for a good result today after being out-qualified by teammate Sean van der Linde. Both Dion and Sean come from racing backgrounds. Dion's father, Dennis, and Sean's father, Henny, are both former South African champions. And there is another van der Linde on the way up, in the form of Etienne, who has taken Formula V racing by storm this year. Mike Briggs is another driver with racing pedigree, and Father Gordon drove saloon cars for many years. We look back from the race cam in Nick Duval's BP Nissan Sentra as the cars start to form up on the grid. Everyone wants to get to the first corner first. Mike Briggs slots in behind Duval, and the 11th round of the Stannic Touring Car Series will be underway any second. Away they go, with Serge Damso slow off the line in the Toyota Camry, and Sean van der Linde has made a demon start in the BMW. Nick Duval got away well and leads the pack down towards Potters Pass, with Mike Briggs and Sean van der Linde side by side. Briggs has edge ahead of van der Linde, and Duval leads a high-speed train through Rifle Range and down to Copacabana. They are weaving all over the circuit, and Marco dos Santos is flying on through the inside under braking. Marco dos Santos picked up a place or two with some very late braking. Hannes Robler is alongside him in the Nissan, and Dion Joubert is challenging Sean van der Linde as the field streams down the beach straight towards the S's. Joubert has got past van der Linde. In the bunch behind them, Grobler leads Dos Santos, Damso and McCleary. And Dos Santos has problems. Marco Dos Santos has spun into the outfield. Race cam action from the Lakefield BMW driven by Marco Dos Santos with Hannes Grobler up ahead. Judge for yourself, but it looks as though young Marco was given a tap by Serge in that incident, and he must be an angry young man. Back to the action, and Nick Duval still leads in the BP Nissan Sentra as they come up to complete lap 1. Mike Briggs is right behind Duval in the Opel Racing Astra with Johnson Matthey BMW teammates Dion Joubert and Sean van der Linde 3rd and 4th. Hannes Grobler is 5th in the second Nissan with Damso 6th in the Toyota Camry and Grant McCleary 7th in the PG Autoglass Astra. Anthony Taylor in the BMW and Jess Huggett in the Class B VW Jetta bring up the rear of the field. Through Potter's Pass with race cam action from the Briggs Opel Astra. Briggs won't want to let Duval get away from him this early in the race. Duval comes flying round rifle range with Briggs in hot pursuit, followed by Joubert and van der Linde. In these cars, the drivers really have to gather in a deep breath through Potters and rifle range. You don't want to go off there, certainly not at 240 kilometers an hour. Race cam action from the camera facing backwards from the Duval BP Nissan Sentra. The two cars are on the beach straight as they head towards the S's and Cox Corner. Mike Briggs closes up on Duval under braking, and this is a tricky section of the East London Grand Prix circuit. You need to get everything right to get a good run through the sweep and build up momentum for the run up the hill on the back straight. Through the sweep with Briggs fighting the car to keep a tight line. There are a few puffs of smoke from the back of Duval's Nissan, and that might give Briggs a lift as they go up the hill. Briggs was having a look at the outside as they braked for Beacon Bend at the top of the hill. Duval had the inside line as they came onto the main straight, but Briggs is in the perfect position to get a tow down the pit straight. The BMWs of Joubert and van der Linde are still 3rd and 4th. Grobler is 5th, but Damso and McCleary are closing in on him. The Nissan just edged away from the Opel Astra down the main straight, and Briggs wasn't close enough to make a passing move. He closed up under braking, but Duval always had the advantage. Back in the pits, that's the Dos Santos Lakefield BMW being parked.
Serge, I passed McCleary and Grobler all on the brakes down there. I was going into the S's and Serge, I don't know what he did again. He's acting stupid. He T-boned me straight off from the back. For what reason, I don't know. Second race, 9 in a row.
Not a happy young man is Marco, but his day also ended early at Kyle Army recently when he was nudged into the gravel trap at the AA sweep. But back to the action, and lap 7, and Nick Duval still leads Mike Briggs and looks to have opened up a slight cushion on the Opel. Joubert is still 3rd ahead of teammate Sean van der Linde, with Damso and McCleary still closing in on Hannes Grobler. More race cam action, this time from the Briggs Opel Astra. The S's, Cox Corner, the sweep and up the hill to Beacon is the section of the circuit where Briggs appears to be quicker than Duval. The gap between the Nissan and the Opel closes noticeably, but the Nissan looks to have the straight line speed to pull away on the faster sections.
And he's right up the back straight. In 6th gear, gets to about 8,000 in. Do about 215 kilometers an hour.
Under braking for Beacon, and Briggs has made up ground. On the pit straight, Duval just floors the accelerator and immediately opens up the gap again. Anthony Taylor is having a lonely race at the back of the Class A field in the ex-factory BMW, and it looks as though he could have a problem of some kind. Matters look very relaxed in the BMW. There's nothing relaxed about this duel. Nick Duval in the BP Nissan Sentra still leads Mike Briggs in the Opel Racing Astra, and time is running out for Briggs. They're on lap 11 of 12, and Briggs is going to have to make a plan. He has to try and force Duval into some sort of mistake if it's to pull this one out of the fire. This is the section of circuit where Briggs closes up on Duval. He has to try to get close enough to get a tow down in the main straight. Once again, Duval has the acceleration to immediately pull away from Briggs. A glimpse there of Nissan Motorsport manager Glyn Hall, and he must be an anxious man. This is a replay of the tremendous Duval-Briggs duel at Kyle Army in round 9. That ended in controversy and earned Briggs a rap over the knuckles and a fine from race officials. But you can bet your life he's going to do everything he can on this last lap to get past Duval. Through rifle range for the last time, and Briggs is piling on the pressure. That's Jess Huggett ahead of them in the Class B VW Jetta, and this could be the break Briggs needs. If Duval gets caught behind Huggett, Briggs will grab the opportunity with both hands, but it looks as though they're going to catch the Jetta on the beach straight. Race cam action from Duval's Nissan, and they're approaching the section of circuit where Briggs has always looked to be quicker than the Nissan. They went past Huggett as though he was standing still, and Briggs has closed right up on Duval. The race is on over the last half of a lap. Through Cox Corner, and Briggs has to make a plan at Beacon Bend. Race distance is rapidly running out for Mike Briggs.
Oh, he's got outside. He went in a bit wide. He came out.
Up the hill towards the right-hander at Beacon, and this is where Briggs has to make his move, but is not close enough. Duval takes a defensive line, but Briggs just wasn't close enough to force a mistake, and Duval is going to win. Back to the Briggs race cam as they approach the checkered flag. Duval wins from Briggs. Joubert is third, followed by teammates van der Linde and Damso and McCleary.
So, Nick, you didn't make the mistake that Mike Briggs was waiting for.
No, I concentrated hard, and I had 12 very good laps. Even the lap times was very good. And I was very worried about Mike behind me, and therefore it was very important for me to have an absolute clean race, and that's what we've had.
Nick Duval gives the BP Nissan team its second Stannic touring car win this season. Briggs has to be content with second place, followed by the two BMW Enviro cars with Serge Damso fifth and Grant McCleary sixth. A disappointing result for Hannes Grobler in the second Nissan, with Taylor 8th and Jess Huggett 9th. Stay with us for highlights of round 12 of the Stannic SAC Car Series. Stannic are the proud sponsors of the SAC Car Series. Stannic, your motor vehicle finance specialists. With us, you can go so much further. The battle resumes in round 12 of the Stannic SAC Car Series. While the drivers signed autographs for the fans in the break between races, it was down to more serious matters for technical crews. Out of round 12 were Anthony Taylor's BMW with gearbox problems and Marco Dos Santos with the Lakefield team withdrawing after a protest they lodged against Serge Damso was turned down by race officials. All systems go for round 12 of the Stannic Touring Car Series, and once again Nick Duval has made a great start. Mike Briggs slots in behind Duval as we get a bird's eye view of proceedings up ahead from the race cam in Grant McCleary's PG Autoglass Opel Astra. Through Potters for the first time, and it's a repeat of round 11. Duval leads Briggs with the BMW Enviro cars of Joubert and van der Linde third and fourth. McCleary is fifth, with Serge Damso again slow off the line and challenging Grobler for fifth. Dion Joubert closes right up on Mike Briggs at Cochabana. Joubert will want to be closer than that when they hit the tight sections through the S's and Cox Corner, but the BMW is not making any headway on the leaders. Under braking for the S's, and Briggs locked up the brakes. That won't have done the tyres much good. Duval still leads Briggs on lap 1 with Joubert third. The field is closely bunched with van der Linde fourth in the second BMW. Grant McCleary is fifth, and Serge Damso has moved ahead of Hannes Grobler and is now sixth. Duval and Briggs have opened up a slight gap on the BMWs, but it's early days yet. They're coming up to complete lap 1, and an awful lot of horsepower will be unleashed down the pit straight at the East London Grand Prix circuit as the cars go streaming past the pits to complete lap 1. Lap 7, and Duval still leads Briggs, but the Nissan is under extreme pressure from the Opel. This is where Briggs has closed up on Duval all day, and is having a look at the outside of Beacon. Briggs is going for the lead as Duval goes wide, and Mike Briggs is right up alongside the Nissan as they steam down the pit straight. The cars are side by side and almost touching. Grant McCleary has the best seat in the house as Duval and Briggs charge towards Potters Pass at around 240 kilometers an hour. Someone has to back off, and Briggs has the better line for the corner. Here's drama. Briggs just clips the curb and Duval almost loses it as he gets onto the dirt. Grant McCleary has nowhere to go in the Opel, and Serge Damso has come blasting through on the inside to move from 4th up into 2nd. Serge Damso saw his chance as Duval blocked McCleary, took a deep breath and aimed the Minolta Toyota Camry up the inside. Lap 7 and Briggs now leads Damso. Duval has gone from 2nd to 3rd and McCleary is 4th. Joubert is 5th in the first of the BMWs with teammate Sean van der Linde behind him in 6th. 5 laps to go, and can Nick Duval make a plan to get 2nd place back from Serge Damso, who has put the Camry into its highest position yet in touring car racing? Grant McCleary is the one who lost out when Duval went wide coming out of Potters. He had to lift off, and Damso seized the opportunity to scoop past both McCleary and Duval. Up the hill to Beacon Bend, and you can be sure that Serge Damso is going to make the Minolta Toyota Camry as wide as possible. He doesn't want Duval to get past and will have his sights firmly set on trying to catch Briggs. It didn't look as though Duval and Briggs touched a Potter's pass on the previous lap. Briggs had the inside line for the corner, and Duval just got the Nissan Sentra a little offline and off balance. These cars are so sensitive that one little mistake is going to cost you dearly. Lap 8, and we're into the closing stages of the race, and the order is unchanged. Briggs still leads Serge Damso in the Minolta Toyota Camry. Nick Duval is 3rd in the Nissan Sentra. McCleary 4th in the Opel Astra, and he is followed by the BMW Enviro cars of Dion Joubert and Sean van der Linde with Hannes Krobler 6th. With race distance running out, the drivers will be starting to think along the lines of desperate measures. It's all a question of picking the time and the place, but tyres will be starting to go off. Up the hill toward Beacon Bend again, and this is where some of them will be looking for an opportunity under braking. Oh, and Nick Duval has overdone it. Nick Duval has gone flying off the circuit. The Nissan just went straight on at Beacon, and Duval has gone farming, and that is the end of his race. Let's have a look at that from the race cam action replay.
I was a bit hard on the brakes, I think, early on in the race, and they possibly overheated a bit. When I put my foot on the brake pedal there, the pedal just went down to the floor, and of course by the time I pumped it once, I had brakes, but by then I was already flying off the circuit at 160 kilometers an hour.
The final lap, and Mike Briggs leads in the Opel Racing Astra, but Serge Damso hasn't given up hope of catching the race leader. Damso is throwing the Minolta Toyota Camry all over the circuit, but Briggs has a slight cushion and holds the advantage. There's drama behind the leaders as well, with Dion Joubert in the BMW Enviro car trying to put the squeeze on Grant McCleary in the PG Autoglass Astra. We have battles for 1st and 2nd and 3rd and 4th on the last lap. Joubert chases after McCleary, but is going to have to pull something out of the bag to get past the Opel. Like the battle up front between the leaders, the Opel has a slight cushion, and Joubert is going to have to hope for a mistake from McCleary in the dying stages of this race. Up the hill towards Beacon Bend for the last time, and Stannic Touring Car Series leader Mike Briggs has another victory in the bag. Serge Damso is going to be 2nd in the Minolta Toyota Camry, and that's a huge boost for the team, with the car having only its 3rd touring car outing. A great result for the factory Opel and Minolta Toyota teams in round 12 of the Stannic Touring Car Series. Dion Joubert grabs 4th place for the BMW Enviro car squad, with Hannes Krobler 5th in the BP Nissan Sentra. Sean van der Linde dropped back in the closing stages, with Jess Huggett the only other finisher, as the traditional bubbly was sprayed around with gay abandon.
It was probably one of the hardest, simply because this track is so fast. It makes passing very difficult, and I had to go at Nick a few times, and on the really quick corners, I mean, I had to go at him at a 200 km/h corner, and we got sideways, but it was a great race.
Next up